minute.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second section of screening of competition films of Nila International Folklore Film Festival 21, second edition, which is going on. Today, we are discussing a Brazilian film named A Traditional Brazilian Family, Katu. Unfortunately, because of some reasons, the director couldn't reach to us. Today we have with us to discuss about this film, an amazing filmmaker, independent filmmaker of Malayalam industry, Krishant. Krishant is an alumnus of IIT Bombay with a master's design in visual communication. He has directed many web series, short films, and his feature films have been to OTT platforms and international film festivals. Welcome, Krishant, to this discussion of film, a traditional Brazilian family, Katu. Let's jump into it without much delay. Welcome to Nila International Film Festival, and thanks for accepting our invitation to discuss the particular documentary today in this evening. Thank you a lot.
Thank
Yes.
you, Jason. Thank you for inviting me. And it's a wonderful film that we can speak. It's really sad that we are not joined by the filmmaker because it would be delightful to know what he actually intended. I mean, it's very clear, it's very self-evident, but at the same time, I really want to know his process and the way he has conducted this journey after a gap of 10 years and what has changed internally in him. So he showed these people, but as a human being in 5 years, you know how much we have changed, right? Our political viewpoints and everything. So I wanted to know what this filmmaker had in mind or what his position is, and so that would have been interesting. But we'll directly go jump into the crux of
Yes.
the material directly.
Yeah, I think I'll before just jumping into our discussion for audience to know about the film. I think it should start with Barth itself. Roland Barth in his he says about photograph, where the photograph always carries with it what it is representing. Also, he goes on saying about the funeral and immobility, where the photograph cannot move in history. It's immobile there, where the world is very much moving, and it cannot transcend its time. I think Rodrigo Sena, the director of the film Katu, he is trying to transcend it through visual medium, where he's going with the photograph he has taken with the Katu community 10 years before, and seeking the characters in the particular photograph and trying to understand what is happening to each and every person in that photograph. Through that, he's trying to bring out the history of changes which is happening in the particular community. To it's not about community, which is it is generally what is happening to indigenous communities, whether it's Adivasis of India, whether it's community, Portuguese community of Katu. It's the same stories which is
So,
happening, the
yeah,
changes.
also when you talk about the medium of photographs, can I detour? I mean, let's just speak about. So there are mediums which are temporal and there are mediums which are non-temporal. Temporal about in time, like a story, a film happens in time. It starts from X and move to Y, and the character grows in from A to B. But a painting is maybe a non-temporal medium where it is freezing a moment in time or freezing an emotion in time. Like if you take a painter like Rothko and all, it's just an emotion which is frozen. You see, you collect with your mental model and everything. So images. This has happened to me many times. Okay, I have traveled with my friends on a vacation which is very bad. Like it's probably the worst vacation ever. But and then we took a selfie. And years later, when I look at the selfie, that period was a golden period, but I really clearly remember that we were not happy. The accommodation was not good. The friends were not that great. Or but this image has this memory trigger, which is completely different from the actual the proceedings that happened. So photographs are biggest lies as well, and even to self. I think validation of existence has become. But when we grow to our grandmother, she'll show her marriage album and everything, right? So it has become a validating thing, not just Instagram food, what I ate for breakfast, but hey, look at 1950, I was in Chennai, 1962, I was wearing the sari. And so photography as a medium, there is this whole scope of creating a not a false but a mirage of self what self-worth and validation, self-validation and everything. And in between that we see this where somebody is actually not just doing that, but he's showing it to someone else. And look at this, and look at this, look at this photograph, and look at this photograph. And uh, and I also believe that the personality of the photographer is very important in such a project. Like if you just show a photograph and you don't give space for the person to contemplate, and then then it does not work, right? Ideally, what when we show a photograph, oh, I was thinner then, I look very younger, it's not going there. It goes into a stream of nostalgia and self-reflection. There's one part of the video where it's very self-reflective. This
The
person.
photograph arrests us in time sometime. Some in history of time, we were somebody else. Then in the course of time we have changed. That photograph reminds us in us, or whoever is being photographed in the particular time period. So it's kind of arresting us in time.
Yeah,
Coming
and
back
very
to
democratic
Katu.
medium. It's a very democratic medium. We should not forget that
Yeah, yeah.
there are a lot of pure people who come and say that, oh, DSLR photography is this and that, and now everyone has a camera on their phone, and photography has become pedestrian. And I would say, no, no. I think when a medium becomes available to everyone, then if you are really good in that medium, then you would actually be an artist and everything. But at same time, normal people like the people who we show even in the video, the humans, they can document themselves and they have it on a display album on their phone and everything. It's a very democratic medium is what I would say. I mean, and it's very
let's
easy to
let's
reflect
come
also.
back to Katu, where
Yeah, let's come back to
yeah,
that.
the film itself. I think we can start with what is about how the question of land is coming to all over the people, all over the aboriginals in world. I think Katu starts with the particular question of how the land question of aboriginals is. That the travel starts with it, how it's been taken. Yeah, I think we can start with that part. What do you thought about it while you watched the film? How did you?
What I really felt is that what there is this indigenous cultures always consider themselves as a part of the land, like how it is mentioned in the film. Towards the end of the film, they say that we belong to the land. Like we were talking about this when I was doing a documentary. Even then, the one called Water Bodies, where people were talking about how they came and they settled down, and this is their land. They don't have a patta. They don't have a proper documentation. Village officer has not given them a land right or anything, but they have been living here. Their grandfather was living here, and they've been living here with the forest and with the trees and with the birds, and they've been sitting in this place and breathing in this place. So when suddenly this whole uh, organized government and everything comes up, uh, who was the actual owner of the land? This question arises, and that is where in Katu they clearly mention that such an indigenous culture, they don't consider land as a property. I was traveling in a train and I was sitting with this uncle. Okay, I'm just going very personal. Uncle looks at Bharatapura and says, "Oh, the manala kadakkunnu." Like there's a lot of sand. We can use all this sand for construction. Like when you see a beautiful piece of land and trees and forest and everything, some people would say, "Oh, that's beautiful nature." And some people would say, "Real estate. This is good real estate." I mean, look at the way people look at even basic things, and
Yeah,
that's where this film is very relevant.
yeah, looking at also has a relevance. The perspective also has a relevance in the film Katu, where a lot of them are saying about them going out of the place, and people looking at them as tribals. We can see it in our how we are to some kind of we are racist to some kind of people, how we are watching them, how we are representing them.
They're like museum pieces is what. usually happens with filmmaking. You take a tribal community and then you put them as museum pieces, and whatever they do from the European ideology of modernity, however they deviate from it, that is considered as a museum thing. Like this person is eating a worm. Okay, okay, this person is eating a worm. Then he is what? He is a 10,000-year-old human. But at the same time, in Katu, when you look at I noticed the audio too, the way the film begins, and the way the film
Nature sounds
ends.
and
Yeah, the sounds, the original sounds and everything, and I think what whoever say, I think that basically it talks about modernity in a very subtle kind of a way, like with religion and with land and with farming, and we were mentioning farming, and even with the way people are, like this youngsters, and how free they were once, and some are not embarrassed. Some people are, but they are not embarrassed. I would say they are owning up to what they are. Like the man says that I am very happy in my skin, and he's really proud and happy in my skin, and this is my grandfather's land and everything. So that is uh, and then they show this other person who's embracing Christianity, and this juxtaposition of the same culture, the people belong to the same culture having a choice is something very beautiful in the film and in the tribe as well. Like most
I
religions
think
don't
the
give most cultures don't
that
give a
question
choice.
is clearly shown in film. With the question of land comes, question of individuality comes.
Correct.
They are trying to embrace their culture, how they are trying to accept their tradition, but how the modern world is not uh, enabling them to do that, or trying to evade into their, giving them different thing which they don't want. So they are understanding, they're clearly understanding. I think that way, two ways. It's one side it's from the state, second side it's from the religion, third side it's from the society, fourth is the environmental aspect of it. If you can
We what I observed. Let's go into the religion part, which is very fascinating. I think a pure pagan community, like our tribal communities, or like our fishermen folks, a pure pagan community, and how they were converted. A part of them is converted into Christianity, and when you go to say you go to Northeast, you see that tribals practice tribal religions and Christianity at the same time. And this what mixing of religions is a very interesting aspect of religion itself, like how we take from one religion and the other. So when I saw this one person who's jumping across a street in the video, and he has all the tribal symbols on him, and then suddenly they go into this other person who is wearing a tie, which is very European, and he is going and sitting in a church, and which is again the idea of church and everything is probably Eastern idea, European idea. That kind of a juxtaposition and everything worked for me, and I think the filmmaker is aiming at that too. He wants us to understand that how things are changing, but at the same time how we hold. I want to ask Jishnu, what is there a right or wrong here? The filmmaker is not going there, which is, but at the same time, we feel that, oh, okay, this is not going in that direction. This, this whole idea of humans to conserve culture is also very right wing idea. Like when we have accessibility to proper clean drinking water, reverse osmosis drinking water, and we have accessibility to toilets and everything, and they are living in the forest, then this disparity arises, but they are very happy. But when we consume from that forest and does not give them basic things, then we try to make it even by giving them modernity, and
it
this modern.
reminds me one of the music albums in India, which directed
Sorry.
by KP Shashi, Gawo Chodab Nahi. Yeah, which is one of the slogans of Narmada, Bachao Andolan in 90s. where tu piyo ke Pepsi Cola, Bisleri ka pani. uh, हमको कचरा पानी. There is this one line of it.
Ah,
I was reminded by it when you.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, but
That's
we
a universality of film, isn't it?
yeah,
What
yeah, yeah. And also, we are so
how
much
this
dependent on,
this
I
is.
would say that the city is so much dependent on these this forest and this tribal people and everything. The city is exploiting from that. We need our timber, we need our electricity, we need our sugar cane, we need our the sugar cane cultivation over a cemetery comes in the content, right? Like our
Yeah,
indigenous
yeah.
people are buried there, but now it's a beautiful way to show how capitalism considers you are not valuable alive, dude. Like you die, so that you are fertilizer to our
So
sugar cane.
we need you. We need you even if you're dead. We need your land if you're being cremated there. That is a crisis of capitalism. Also, is one of the aspects which I liked in the film.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
It's very and when the person say it, he's standing on a Christian cemetery and then telling it like our cemetery is not here. There is a sugar cane farm over there, and that's where our ancestors are buried. And it's sweet. Like I intend a pun here. Like it's yeah.
it reminded me Elia Kazan's one of the film.
Which one? Which one?
Marlon Brando has acted, where it talks about uh, Mexican aboriginals who has been evicted from their land, and they work for it. They fight for it. I forgot its name. See, like coming back to our question of identity. That's what we were, identity and individuality over your culture. When world is saying it's wrong, you strongly firmly believe in your own individual cultures, your own individual rituals. That's a beauty of community of cartoons. But I found it. How did you feel it? Like each characters sticking on to their own cultures, their own ways of. Some are working in sugarcane industry, which is evading them. Some are working in churches, which is trying to Christianize them, or trying to say to them that only stick on to your Christianity, not your traditional ways of living. So it's a mixed up community where some is embracing it, some is against it.
Uh,
That yeah, there's a macrocosm of whole.
this embracing in the it's more like this I did not I more than embracing I felt that most of these humans who live in that space they don't have the privilege of choice mostly, and the ones who have the privilege of choice are not choosing modernity or not choosing capitalism. They are still they want to embrace stick on to the culture, and they believe that they are a part of the land and everything, but the other ones may not have this privilege of, so you can look at the residents of these people who are choosing uh, modernity, like the person wearing a tie, his house is shown, and it's I'm just think yeah.
About how evangelism is taking over it, and how evangelism is trying to say to them that what you're doing is very primitive, which is a very typical European, white European kind of
I agree.
religious perspective, which has been flooding over the world for many
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
years. And
And people who have embraced the white European ideology, you see them that they are also rising in economy because the whole world is looking at it in that manner. It's a very capitalist world out there, and the people who stick to the indigenous material, indigenous way of life, they are considered as a group which is lost in the forest. Right, but look at how when you look at all this, these people they are not encroaching into nature. They're living with nature as a part of nature. They are not destroying, or they're not doing, and they're living in the forest like dolphins in the cuddle in the sea. Right, that's why I believe the dolphins are smarter than humans. Uh, like they're not destroying nature as such. So when you look at all these people that are shown in the video, the ones who have a privilege of choice are the conflicted ones, is what I feel. And the filmmaker is trying to make them reflect on their growth. I think there's this guy who speaks about how he gets smoked up, or how he smokes 7 times a day or 8 times a day, and
Drunk.
he made the reality that is
I
of.
think one of the characters is saying it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
he's saying,
everyone has changed. Some died. Some exist in a different form. Some are fighting. Some have reached different positions. Some are struggling. Some are drinking and dying. There are people who have drunk and died because of this anger they have towards what they are facing in their lives. That is one. I find it very interesting, where each photograph is being given to the same person, or his or her cousin, and asking who is it. Then the people are reflecting upon themselves. Maybe that will be the first time they're getting a chance to sit and reflect back on what they were, how they changed. That's a beautiful concept which the
and the
film
way
is.
he has communicated it, it starts off with a drone bringing in a photograph to a tribal person in full attire, like not a tribal, an indigenous person in a full attire. And this person looks at the photograph. So the filmmaker is already establishing what the content is going to be. Like it's from the word go, he is starting it. And initially I felt that what is happening? Like this is not good, like a drone and a photograph, and as a documentary he has actually blocked a person, shot from two angles. And then I was feeling weird. Okay, why is such a thing happening? And this is maybe my traditional idea of looking at documentaries and how documentaries should be documented. If you look at all these documentaries that come on Netflix or Curio stream and everything, documentaries are as interesting or more interesting than fiction. But on this, in this documentary, it's not about it. It evokes a mental model nostalgia. If you are a diasporic individual, where you grew up in, I grew up in a place called Kallara, Trivandrum. Then I moved to Ernakulam, Bombay. When I see the documentary, I'm thinking about how I would have been there if I was embracing everything. And when you go to that village has changed entirely. It will not accommodate what I have in my head. It will not accommodate because, and that is something that the filmmaker is and that is the drone shot at the end where you show a sugarcane factory with smokes and fumes and everything, and then the forest around. I also googled up a little bit about the environmental conservation issues and those things that is happening in Brazil, and they after watching the film.
Amazon is particularly facing this threat,
Yeah,
when very
also
right wing
very similar to India, the
government
activists
has
were
taken
getting
over
killed.
Brazil, like we have in our country.
Yeah, yeah. And
How
also about the activist murders. If you look at the activist, if you Google activist murders in Brazil, there are ഒരു particular 2012, 2015, 150 activists killed, 95 activists killed in the next 2 years. Even last year, there were 60 plus activists. So activists are getting shot and killed very readily, like how it's happening in India. Not just by the government, but also by corporations, also by the mafia and cartels who control these.
it's a combined force.
Yeah, yeah.
I find it's a combined force of, mafia can't exist without government. Government won't exist without
But
the
are you allowed
corporations.
to say it loud? You are not.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
one thing came, which was the college going girl. That is one of the different characters I find in the
Oh, proud of
documentary.
her graduate. Yes, yes.
Yeah, how she's going into a modern education world. We call it modern education, but what her classmates is talking about, is it, uh, they're trying to mock her, they're trying to
So there's just a
mock her as.
fleeting scene, right? That's a fleeting scene. I wonder why the filmmaker did not stick around there, because suddenly then it will be a polarized documentary. That's what I felt. So he is looking at both sides, and then he's making us realize that there is this whole ostracization being done to the indigenous culture, but he's not going there. He's not polarizing it. That scene is just fleeting. It's just there for what, 12 seconds.
but there is point in it. Each
Yeah,
character, I as a viewer found it like each character is different. Each character's life is different in Katu. But what the problems they're facing is coming into a common ground where it is either cultural identity issue, or it's land getting grabbed by the corporates, or it's their life which is turning around because of the modernity which has come. Either they're trying to take go with the flow, they're trying to go against the flow, and how they are getting represented by the world, where the teacher is saying about government says that we all are dead, but we are not. The indigenous people are dead, but we are not. We are here. We are telling our stories. We are telling our about our ancestors. We are smoking, which is also part of our culture, which is also part of our tradition. So that way, I think this film has as a universal tone is what I thought. If you can tell about it, what you felt about the
then
universality of our
the
emotions.
universality of like wherever there's this whole developmental terrorism happening across the world, and there was suddenly a hydroelectric project is built, and the people who live on the other side, they lose their land, they lose their way of life. There are cattle communities turn into fishermen communities turn into what into city communities, and this whenever a development terrorism happens, the victims are actually converted into workforce for the privileged. And this is actually a very what a proper terrorism thing happening across the world. And in this universality of the content is that here there is no a big terrorism event that happened, like a hydroelectric project being built or a nuclear power plant, but the slow encroachment of this development into their communities, into the way of living. Like imagine that 50 years back, how would they have sugar? Or their sugar would be honey, or their sugar would be different. And now they have to get money and buy sugar. Right. I mean, or I don't know. But so how much money is becoming important, and they are being dragged into this whole system of spending and earning and spending, and suddenly everything becomes a commodity. Suddenly their land becomes a commodity which can be sold and bought and everything, and suddenly their even their culture, the representation of their culture, like you go at a tourism show, you have people coming in, and let's represent our art forms. Floats, Onam floats, like a small single index representation of a beautiful indigenous culture, and you give 10 points for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so,
we need them to present to our modern world, but we don't need them to in we don't let them live. That's a
yeah, yeah,
modern human doesn't allow it. I think the ending note of film is also very powerful. When we speak about the form of film, it has a lot of aerial shots
yes, yes.
in a interval. It starts with an aerial shot. In the middle of it, it shows the graveyard of as an aerial shot. At the end, it is showing fumes coming out of the factory, which is the factory which is taking over their land for sugarcane cultivation.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, agriculture getting into the forest. So it's how do you felt the form as a one is about the photographs being shown, especially the bike accident, about one guy who went in bike accident. Yeah, please.
Yeah, speaking completely about the form, initially when I saw the landscape being established as drone shots, and then the filmmaker himself shows that he's using a drone inside the film, I was actually surprised because usually what documentaries, ethno documentaries would go into a drone content only towards the middle is what is the pattern. Usually you don't what show land, you show people, and then you show land. That's how ethno ethnography documentaries usually are like, it starts with an individual, his family, his immediate people, and then you show his space, and then you establish a problem in the space. It's a technical way of what an ethnography documentary, how it is. But suddenly here you are playing with space for quite a long time, and then the filmmaker is never talking about space. There he's talking about identities of human beings and how the identities have changed, and then in the end the entity of the space being changed is shown as a visual. And that is a very what crafty way of narration. That's actually, it looks very scripted and very well thought of, and not arbitrarily arriving at this conclusion from footages. Another thing that Jishnu and I were discussing is about the 100 mm, 200 mm, 500 mm shots used to uh, what used to squeeze land into a vertical, like some shots in maybe a Cohen brother film, where land is now not a parallel piece of land or an inclined piece of land. It's layers on top of layers, and this is shown for what for landscape shots. And as Jishnu was saying, Jishnu, would you add here the wide angle?
Yeah, the people are shown in wider 35 mm, 50 mm, or 50 mm lenses, and landscapes are shown
Shown in portrait
in
100 mm and
yeah, it's a very put tele lenses. That's a I think it's very the filmmaker has used it in it's not an
must
accident.
be in context. Must be in
Yeah,
context.
in context it's been used. Uh, Last I found one which we talked about the how these characters evolved into their new lives, how the land is evolving into the new life, how nature is, how connected they are to that nature. That aspect is very brilliantly brought out in the film through sounds. Every
Sounds.
time it's natural sounds which is being used a lot, uh,
I don't
and their
remember
connection.
music in the film. Music on Diana. I don't remember music in
No, there is just
just
some
the song.
padding, basic padding some places, and
Okay.
there is no music in that.
Hmm.
It's usually their songs, their
The
instruments.
songs. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So how did you find the connection between them and nature being in the film?
And then I really noticed the sound part because of the end singing, and then the music part did not strike me as such. I did not notice because we I was noticing content, and and maybe I am still wondering if there was music in the content album. That's a very good way of using what your resources, right? If you don't notice music, or if you don't notice cinematography, then actually they are good. Right. Yeah. If you only look at the people and their change and their condition, and how they are, and not think, and because maybe we saw it again and again, that's why we saw the 100 mm and the 14 mm. Otherwise, we might
Obviously.
not notice it.
But that natural way of capturing the essence of the documentary is very much there. The consistency of filming. Wherever they want the wider lenses, they have used it. Wherever they want a squeezed image, they have used it. That's a brilliance of a cinematographer in that. I think Rodrigo it's himself is shot it.
Yeah,
Himself is a
many
very
interviews are framed in a very tight interviews, right? Like how our Skype, our Zoom screens are. Like if it is usually in an ambient documentary which speaks about space and everything, you would place a person and a backdrop, choose a backdrop which actually the mise-en-scene adds to the identity of the person and everything. But here I did not see it. If that is deliberate, then I want to understand why. Or is or the filmmaker deliberately he's going very close to this person, so that when you're very close to a person and his listen to his interviews, you suddenly connect with this person. അങ്ങനെ എന്തെങ്കിലും, I don't know if the filmmaker intended something, but some of it.
going back to a place after many years is very common in documentaries. We can see City of God, 10 years
uh,
after City of God, 10 years after which lot of things comes when we reflect upon what we have. but this one is in a different way. It is approaching that's coming back with a little bit of ethnography in it, with little bit of politics in it, with it's nothing is loud, but everything is contained into such a 26 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a, and that is another thing. It's not provocating. I really love the fact that this is a very provocative documentary, which is not provocating. It's just reflecting, and reflection is actually making us think of where we were and where are we going. That is something very beautiful. There's no direct provocation involved where it should be like the forest is burned down, like the sugarcane factories have taken over their cemeteries and their life and everything. Like Christianity is encroaching into their religion and converting them. But there's no provocation involved. It's partial embracing, partial denying, and like how life is. Yeah. The Jishnu, I can't hear you.
Yeah. Which you did you find anything else which is very interesting in the film?
I found another thing that I found I no, not in the obvious. I like I was mentioning. I really want to know the change in the filmmaker after 5 years. Like like you have a memory from a place and then you visit it 10 years later and you make another memory. Both memories collide and now you have an organism memory which will have both the segments, right? So this, but when you are a filmmaker and you're taking footages, now you have a memory and you have footages, then you have a new memory and you have new footages, and you as a person has evolved in between this whole cycle. You may be a death in the family, maybe a new marriage, or maybe a divorce, and you have also changed. So the way you look at things also change. Like a lot of people, like a lot of filmmakers, when they are in college, they are in the fighting party, and when after college they slowly move into the non-fighting party, and like political ideologies change. So after 5 years, how much this human has changed so that he can look at it and see the disparity, or how. I really want to the filmmakers viewpoint on this, because it's a simple visit to a bus stop after 10 years, what gives us a lot of nostalgia, right? I mean, oh, last time when I was here, there was a post office here, and loudmouth, we say it also. Like, you remember last time, and I really want to know the filmmaker's perspective, and that perspective has actually added to him looking at things in a non-provocative, in a very reflective, very melancholic kind of a storytelling, and the pace is never exceeding. Might also be the personality of the filmmaker, might also be, but I want to know this.
Started with quoting Barth, Roland Barthes in saying about photography's funeral immobility in the viewing world. Photograph always has this immobility of without transcending in time. I think this is what I got from the
Have
film.
you seen any other similar documentaries where, like you were saying, City of God, and
10
um,
years after City of God is a documentary which goes into City of God, the place where it's shot after
okay,
after 15 years, I think, and sees the characters and lives of them. How it's also kind of ethnographic, but not in a way. It's a very commercial way of they're trying to go back into the film and their life.
oh, okay,
Here
okay,
it's a photograph. It's more of a there is an academic thing to it.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
there is more of a ethnographic tone into it other than uh,
yeah.
more of a commercial filmic tone. There
Yeah,
are many
yeah,
documentaries.
and but uh, do you want to speak about um, what kind of lenses and what kind of cameras are used? Do you want to speak about it? Because I don't think I know. I mean, do we go there? We don't go there, right? We only,
No, it's
yeah,
somewhere it's not been seen to people.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
let's not
It's not in,
yeah,
yeah,
let's not destroy their
yeah, yeah,
natural way of watching a very political documentary
yeah.
into a very technical terms of lensing. I think we can if we have something we can share it and we can end this
Yeah, yeah.
discussion.
I
Uh,
always wanted. Um, See, this is again, I'm still beating around the same bush, but the bush is very interesting. Okay, yeah. So, as a human being, when we, like, I am a villager and I moved out of the village, my father moved out of the village, and now I am surrounded by what gadgets and mobile phones and everything. Now I'm scared of actually plucking a mango and eating because of Nipah virus. Okay, like directly from the tree. This is also my insecurity, but look at how things have changed for a villager like me, or look at how things have changed for we have become city dwellers. We want our clean toilets and we want our harpics and everything. And if we get a chance to go back to the old self and the old life that was, and only in literature people speak about how nostalgic and how good those times were they actually good? So when the documentary shows that these people are moving away from their own indigenous rituals and indigenous way of life, is it that necessary? Is a concern that I have. Like, because the whole world is changing, right? And this tribe or certain tribes will remain and the others will exploit them, and it's very necessary for them to embrace maybe Christianity, maybe work in a factory, go to college, and run with the capitalist modern world rather than be exploited as they are, as naive as they are, is a question that I have in my mind always. Which is good and which is bad, because we never know, right? I mean, uh, I mean, colonialism was a very, very bad thing, but we have Indian Railways. Very right wing way of looking at it, but good. This is a very weird balance that
What
keeps
I got from
bugging me.
film is with they are embracing modern way of life.
They are, they are,
They are using
they are.
modern technologies. They are living a life which is very suiting to the kind of modern world. But
And
their philosophy, they don't
their
want to
philosophy,
uh, go without their philosophy, which is very much in connection with the nature. They
eh,
love their nature.
their human, their place and the land and which they belong,
Yes, yes.
and and that's all I have. I think there's nothing
I
more.
think we can, yeah. Hope
Yeah,
everybody just watch it. Watch a traditional Brazilian family katu in the YouTube channel of Nila International Folklore
right,
Film
right.
Festival. It will be till 7th of November. 8th
I
of
have
November
shared
it
it
will
on my
be.
Facebook too. I've shared the documentary on my. I'll share it again so that so people can watch it.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you, Krishant, for uh, sharing your thoughts about the film, to engage in a discussion which may help people to or inspire people to watch the film again or rewatch it again in the light which we have spoken about. And thanks to all who have been watching this live in Facebook and who will be watching it afterwards. Here we are signing off today after discussion of Brazilian family Katu. Tune on to our Facebook page, 8 o'clock. We have another discussion on next film called Amepa. Please tune into our Facebook page at 8 o'clock. And thanks a lot, Krishant. Thanks to all who have attended the live.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.